threatening to boycott future Super Bowl. Yeah, fans don't really want to see a Super Bowl overseas.
Welcome to American Baller, where we focus on all things NFL. Don't forget to subscribe and ring that bell for future videos. World champion of what? When Noah Lyles made this statement, it generated a lot of uproar in the US, especially NFL fans, because the Super Bowl is the apex when it comes to American football globally. But it seems fans are not ready to take the Super Bowl global just yet, at least location-wise, with the recent outrage over the comments made by Roger Goodell, the commissioner of the NFL. The Super Bowl is more than just a game. It's a tradition and an event that unites millions of people every year. From diehard football fans to casual viewers tuning in for the commercials and the halftime show, the Super Bowl is a uniquely American experience. But this year, NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell dropped a bombshell that has fans fuming. During a recent press conference, he teased the possibility of taking the Super Bowl overseas. Now, the thought of hosting the most significant sporting event on US soil abroad has caused a massive uproar, and many fans are threatening to boycott the big game if it becomes a reality. The NFL is no stranger to global outreach, but the Super Bowl? That's where a lot of fans are drawing the line. So why are people so upset? Let's break down the brewing storm. Roger Goodell's global ambition. To understand why fans are angry, we need to take a look at the NFL's growing global ambitions. Over the last decade, the NFL has been making serious efforts to expand its fan base internationally. The London Games are a prime example, where NFL teams travel across the pond to play in front of a sold-out Wembley Stadium crowd packed with British fans donning NFL jerseys. The NFL's International Series has also taken games to Mexico and Germany, all in an effort to grow the sport's popularity outside the US. It's safe to say that the NFL has been making strides overseas, and to Goodell, it seems like a natural progression to think about the biggest game of the year, the Super Bowl, being part of that global push. In his words, the NFL is a global sport, and we want to showcase it to the world on the biggest stage. But not everyone shares that enthusiasm. At its core, the Super Bowl isn't just about football. It's a celebration of American culture, one that's intertwined with hot wings, beer, backyard barbecues, and Super Bowl parties that have become as much of a tradition as the game itself. It's a communal experience that has fans tailgating outside stadiums, gathering at sports bars, or huddling around TVs at home no matter where they are in the country. It's about creating memorable moments you talk about for years after. But moving the Super Bowl overseas, many fans feel that the NFL is taking away from this sacred American experience. Football is often referred to as America's game, and for many, the Super Bowl is their once-in-a-lifetime chance to see the biggest game on home turf. Moving the game abroad feels like a slap in the face to many fans who have supported their teams for years, braving cold weather games, buying season tickets, and living and breathing football. Fan outrage and calls for a boycott. When Goodell floated the idea of an overseas Super Bowl, fan reactions were swift and overwhelmingly negative. Social media erupted with passionate takes from angry fans, many of whom felt blindsided by the idea. Some threatened to boycott the Super Bowl altogether if the NFL goes ahead with a plan. The hashtags #KeepTheBowl in the USA and #BoycottSuperBowl began trending almost immediately after Goodell's statement. A disgruntled fan on social media platform X said, "I've been watching the Super Bowl for over 30 years, and if they move it to another country, I won't watch it at all. This is our game, not some global event." Others echoed similar sentiments, with many fans feeling like the NFL is chasing dollars and foreign interest at the expense of its core fan base. Another fan said, "The NFL is already making billions. Do they really need to take the one thing we hold sacred and ship it overseas to make more money?" The anger is palpable, and it's not just coming from individual fans. Some team-focused fan groups have also spoken out, threatening to organize Super Bowl parties that purposely avoid watching the game in protest. The backlash is real, and it's clear that Goodell struck a nerve with a sizable portion of the NFL's domestic fan base. Super Bowl viewership, a global phenomenon. To understand the full scope of this issue, let's first talk about the Super Bowl's audience. In 2023, the Super Bowl pulled in an astonishing 113 million viewers globally. 70% of that audience was from the United States, which is not surprising considering American football is, well, America's sport. However, that also means 30% or around 34 million viewers were international. Countries like Canada, Mexico, and the United Kingdom have seen significant increases in viewership, with Canada pulling in an average of 8 million viewers annually. In the UK, where American football is still growing, the Super Bowl drew over 4 million viewers last year. In Mexico, the game has a consistently strong fan base of 10 million viewers. Interestingly, the viewership in places like Japan and Germany has also seen growth. In 2023, more than 2 million Germans tuned in to watch the Super Bowl, and Japan attracted close to 1 million viewers, a solid figure for a sport with relatively little history in the country. So yes, the Super Bowl is making strides globally, but is that enough to move the game out of America? The business side of things. It's easy to understand why fans feel upset, but from a business perspective, Goodell's suggestion makes a lot of sense. The NFL has seen steady growth internationally, and there's no denying the commercial potential of hosting a Super Bowl in a foreign market. The London games, for instance, sell out year after year, and the NFL has built a solid international following. By hosting a Super Bowl in a major city like London, Munich, or even Tokyo, the NFL could tap into millions of new fans and boost its global profile. This would also open the door to a broader range of sponsorship opportunities, international media partnerships, and bigger broadcasting deals, an enticing prospect for any organization. Plus, ticket prices for an overseas Super Bowl could potentially be astronomical, as international fans would pay a premium to experience what is typically an American-only event. In the end, this move could net the NFL billions more in revenue. But even with all that financial incentive, is it worth alienating your most loyal fans? The simple answer to this question is no. So let's take a look at the negatives. With the Super Bowl being played outside the US, here are some issues that would alienate diehard NFL fans. One is the time zones, because it's no fun watching at 2 a.m. Imagine you're a diehard fan of the Kansas City Chiefs and suddenly the Super Bowl is being played in London. Sure, there's only a 5-hour time difference, but the game kicks off at 6:30 p.m. in the UK, which means it starts at 1:30 p.m. on the East Coast. Now, if you're in the West Coast, the game starts at 10:30 a.m. It's not ideal. Ticket cost is another issue. Another concern is the simple matter of accessibility. The Super Bowl is already notorious for being a difficult ticket to get, with prices soaring into the thousands. Now imagine adding international travel into the equation. We also have to consider the impact on local economies, the revenue loss. The Super Bowl is not just a boon for football fans, it's an economic juggernaut for the host city. Hosting the game generates hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue from tourism, local business, and job creation. For example, the 2022 Super Bowl in Los Angeles generated an estimated $477 million in economic impact. We could also be excluding the elderly and young fans because traveling halfway across the world isn't feasible for everyone. The older generation, which grew up with football as an intrinsic part of American culture, is less likely to fly across the world to attend a Super Bowl, especially considering the health risks and physical demands of international travel. Potential compromises. While the idea of an overseas Super Bowl has a lot of fans seeing red, there could be room for compromise. One suggestion floated by some in the NFL community is a rotational system. The Super Bowl could alternate between US and international locations. One year it could be in Miami or Dallas, and the next it could be in London or Berlin. This way, fans would still get the traditional American Super Bowl experience, but the NFL could also explore its global ambitions. Another option is to take some of the NFL's other big events, like the Pro Bowl or NFL Draft, and move them overseas. These events are still huge spectacles, but don't carry the same weight as the Super Bowl. By taking the Pro Bowl to international cities, the NFL could test the waters and see how fans react before making a final decision on the Super Bowl itself. The bottom line. Ultimately, the NFL faces a tough decision. On one hand, there's enormous potential to grow the sport globally and generate even more revenue by taking the Super Bowl overseas. On the other hand, there's a deep-rooted connection between the Super Bowl and American culture that many fans are unwilling to let go of. Moving the game abroad could risk alienating the very people who have made the NFL what it is today. Roger Goodell has always been known for pushing boundaries and making bold decisions, but when it comes to the Super Bowl, he may have finally gone too far. Will the NFL listen to its fan base and keep the game stateside, or will it chase the international dollar and risk a boycott from angry fans? Only time will tell, but one thing's for sure, this debate isn't going away anytime soon. So where does this leave us? The Super Bowl is undoubtedly becoming a global phenomenon, but should that mean playing the game outside of the United States? The answer might lie in a compromise. Play the game in the US, but expand global events. One potential solution is to continue hosting the Super Bowl in American cities while enhancing the global viewing experience. The NFL could invest in more international events leading up to the big game. Think NFL-themed festivals, live broadcasts, and even celebrity appearances in countries like the UK, Japan, and Mexico. These events would celebrate the Super Bowl while keeping the game itself rooted in its American origins. Boost accessibility for international fans. Another approach would be to make the Super Bowl more accessible to international audiences without actually moving the game. Improved broadcasting options, enhanced viewing parties, and partnerships with local businesses in countries where American football is growing could be a way to expand the sport globally while maintaining the Super Bowl's status as an American event. The Super Bowl is undeniably one of the largest sporting events in the world, and its global audience continues to grow each year. However, as exciting as it may be to imagine the game being played in an international venue, the cultural and logistical challenges for American fans isn't worth whatever revenue or exposure this will generate in the long run. Keep the Super Bowl on US soil. Thank you for tuning in to American Baller. Don't forget to subscribe and ring that bell for future videos.